I'm sitting there, and Stevie comes up, and he sit him down by the keyboard. He has a keyboard in the studio, and we're just having a conversation, live. So he sits there, and he starts playing, and he starts singing the song. Far away from that life so young, that's when we used to know many dreams. Killing it. And I'm like, sitting there like, what? Stevie singing my song. Yo, I lost my mind. Hey, what's up, G? How you doing?
It's good to see you, G. It's
What's
just
happening?
the G and G
I
show.
love this. That's what I'm saying. Tea
Right?
time with G and G.
All right,
You know
let's
what I mean?
do it.
Hey, now. Yeah.
Congratulations on the new album.
Thank you.
It's called Overture.
Yes.
For your first full-length album in 13 years, the word overture is usually like it's an introductory piece of music, but you have had like a 30-year career. So why does that name make sense to you right now?
Well, I thought I was being clever.
Well, you
because, I was thinking like, Overture, yeah, like a musical setup before a larger body of work. So this is my first project where I am stepped out independently and doing everything, wearing all the hats and doing everything through and through. Like getting help, don't get me wrong. Like
Sure.
No man is an island, so definitely needing help. But just as far as like the creative force and the creative decisions, all falling on me, it's a new endeavor. And I just, and even just the talk just amongst, friends and even, meeting with fans, and they're like, please don't leave again. Please not the whole 13-year hiatus thing. And I'm like, I got you. So,
Well, I was going to say, I have been waiting for you for a while.
Appreciate you.
But I know that you've been busy Glenn Lewising about the town. It's not like you have been doing, you haven't been just sitting around watching Netflix. Right. You have been a busy... Okay, there might be a little bit of that. You don't plan on making us wait too long for the next one, do you?
No, I just, that, partly going into the name of it, the idea of, this is the setup for, larger bodies of work, like, more to come kind of thing. Because I was aware of it too, and I felt it too. But it's, what a lot of people don't see and can tend to be maybe a little boring is just all the stuff that's occurred in the background. All the tedious, business type things and situations for one reason or another that, may not necessarily work out. But, as we talked offset, just the idea that I think that those things, they set you up for something greater. And now I'm here with this new project, super proud of the fact that I've had the opportunity to do this. I feel extremely blessed and extremely grateful. And man, we're going to keep this thing going. And hopefully, I'm trying to have another one. I got the 25th anniversary award outside my window next year.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then, wanting to bring some more music like 2028, maybe late 2027 or 2028.
So you're going to start cranking stuff out. I love it.
That's, I just, I want to have, it's a part of this process. Like I've been like kind of, and I know we'll get to it, but just falling in love with music again and love being sort of the central theme and just really enjoying making music again. And the fact that, I feel like there's no filter. It's just me straight to, those that love my music or whoever the music is for, my tribe, so to speak. And just going to keep the thing going.
I want to talk about the songwriting on this album.
Sure.
Because you've written some really incredible songwriters and artists, James Fauntleroy, Dre and Vidal, Marsha Ambrosius. But you've talked about writing this album mostly on your own.
Yes.
So does that feel like a different experience for you? Like how is it feeling? How did it feel to you to go in and just put pen to paper on your own?
Well, I mean, it's a natural space in that I've been writing, for years, but I've had the, of all the names that you just mentioned, I've had the privilege of being able to work with these exceptionally talented and gifted people.
Sure. And,
you always walk away, working with the likes of the names that you mentioned, you always walk away with a little something that you can put in your toolbox, So with this one, I felt like that was sort of the point, it adds to giving the project a kind of personal depth and an opportunity to show, evolution in certain areas. And, I've mentioned in different conversations, different interviews, how much I love narrative, love storytelling. And, somebody that I admire, for example, is like Sting. Particularly, there's an album he had, 10 Summoner's Tales, as a part of his solo run, leaving the Police. And there was something. I love the fact that, I mean, I'm sure it helps that he was an English teacher, but like, I love how he has a way of, as an example, of say It's Probably Me, where there's a song called It's Probably Me, and the way he places it out there's a vulnerability, but there's this sort of strange objectivity where he steps back and he's almost telling the story from an observer.
Yeah.
And so there's this, like that you can feel the kind of conflict between the rationale and the vulnerability, so approaching songs like, say, Ruthless on Overture, where I'm talking about somebody that, I'm speaking from the aspects of telling the story of this individual that's lived a particular life because they feel as though they can't trust anyone. And the safer route is, okay, I can only trust me. But there's still this longing of wanting to be able to connect with someone in a real way, but trying to share the depths of the sort of the dark place that may come from, and what, moving through that, that kind of framework day to day, until eventually having to look in the mirror and face, the honest truth of, I can't keep this up, so I just love storytelling. So like, to me, it wasn't, even though I felt it, the idea of, oh my gosh, I'm doing this on my own. But at the same time, it was kind of exciting, and it was part of the challenge. And it's extremely rewarding because I can have conversations like these where it's like, oh, this was the thinking behind this record, or this is the space I was in, or I can actually relate, even though I'm telling the story about an entirely different individual, a different walk of life. It's funny how there's common threads.
Sure.
We've all been in positions where I don't know who I can trust, or whatever else it is. And it's just a matter of immersing yourself in that.
Well, yeah, because when you're writing like that and it's just you, there's this ability to just be unflinching about it. Like, there's no looking out the corner of your eye to anybody else. You're just looking internally the whole time, which must feel freeing for you. Must feel like a bit of freedom, like a bit of like.
Yeah, I mean, you can also sort of feel like, does anybody see me?
Yeah.
Or do you, and the parts that you're like, do I necessarily want anybody to see this or know this about me? But then, in a lot of ways, that's what, like, some of the best art, or the art that we've grown to love, it's the person that, stepped out and was like, well, take it or leave it. This is me.
This is it. Yeah. I love that you brought up Sting and 10 Summoner's Tales, because that that album starts with an epilogue, with a prologue and an epilogue, and then you start with an overture.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah,
okay. I always just skip straight to the songs I love. But, oh yeah.
Did you take anything else from that album other than that storytelling kind of aspect of it? Was there anything else from it that?
I mean, I don't know. You can hear the freedom. You could tell he was just in a space where he's just like, I've got nothing to prove. And I can just make from a very pure place. And, being able to feel that energy, that's inspiring in and of itself. But yeah, mostly, like, I love some of the places that he'll go musically and how he'll play with time signatures. And I love all that stuff. But man, he just has a way of, whether it's Shape of My Heart, or It's Probably Me, or Feels of Gold, or what's
man, this album.
Yeah, it's a beautiful record. Yeah. That record, John Mayer's Continuum. Like, I always I feel like as a creative, I'm the guy that if I was a film director, I would be making the films that people would first hear and be like, I don't know how I feel about this, but over time becomes a cult classic. I feel like I'm that guy.
Okay.
So I'm always gravitating to albums where it's like they may not be necessarily they could easily fall in people's top 5,
right.
Maybe top 10.
But they're not always the number one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. I want to hear a little bit more music from the record. If that's
I'm with it.
cool.
Yeah.
You want to go for it?
So many stars, you could get lost trying to see beyond. They seem so far, but if you close your eyes, love's a spaceship, strap yourself in it to take you far. What can I say?
So Many Stars is the name of that tune by Glenn Lewis. It's off his new album, Overture. Glenn, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear your song playing? When you hear a song like this, a new one?
Mm-hmm.
What's going through? What's going through your body and your mind?
Well, I gotta be honest. Like even, so much leads up to completing any project. So there was a lot of listening to these songs over and over and over again, just to make sure, like, okay, am I missing anything? Is there anything that, whatever it is, whatever details to make sure, get over the finish line with the songs being, or the album itself being in a space and a place where it's like, okay, this is what I want people to receive. You just trying to be meticulous about every detail of like a chef, like a top tier chef or whatever, 5-star, you want to make sure the meal is, the presentation is on point. Everything is sharp. So I've been listening to them so much that I still, the great thing about it is the fact that I can still hear it, like hearing the songs come on and I'm still like, yeah, like I feel good about it. Like it's,
that's good.
That kind of, like a sense of accomplishment, but also being able to actually enjoy the music. And the fact that there's a little bit of distance between when I first performed it to now, I can sort of just appreciate it almost like everybody, not exactly like everybody else, because everybody else it'll just be fresh if you've never heard it for the first time or whatever, or you're hearing it for the first time. But, being able to revisit it now, I'm like, oh man, that was, that's a great time. Like knowing that I can enjoy it now, and the feeling of, hopefully that's the kind of thing that will continue to grow.
That's right.
Like as time goes by.
Yeah, as there's space to grow into that. I want you to take me back to when you first started this journey of yours.
Sure.
As an artist. Who was influencing you musically way back when?
Okay. So, so I would say what first put me on the path for music was seeing the reaction I got from girls.
Stop it now.
So that was the first inspiration. The first inspiration was like,
so this is to all the girls.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh, you like that? Oh, okay. Because it gave me one up. It was different from everybody else. You had the jocks, and they were doing whatever they were doing, and here I am. It's just like, oh, Glenn, can you sing that? Absolutely, I can sing that for you. So that was kind of the first thing, and then eventually, I actually enjoyed the freedom of expression. Like it wasn't like anything else. Like you can write and, some people got, diaries. I don't know if, whatever. But like, people might write poetry, whatever. But writing songs and coming up with melody and stuff like that, I was always trying to find, I don't know, just, trying to find the magic in the people that I was listening to, trying to achieve whatever form of magic that I had, or wanting to, create that. So eventually, it first started with, admittedly, you just trying to like Bobby Brown's doing what he's doing. I'm like, man, I could do that, but I could, whatever,
right.
maybe get some, do whatever little choreography and things and whatever else. And then, New Edition and whatever else. But, eventually I started getting into, the composers, the songwriters, the guys that were doing like timeless stuff.
Sure.
So eventually I went from, listening to Boys to Men, and yeah, gosh, there's so much I could tell you. So, so I was like, as an example, there was I was heavy into Boys to Men when they first came out. I think I was still in high school, or I might have left high school. I might have actually left because I never finished high school. But that's another
That's
story.
a whole
We'll
other.
get to, we'll get to
You
that
have
later.
a book in you, my friend.
Listen,
A
you have
book.
no idea. My mom's, I'm shocked. Everybody says it. They're like, your mom let you leave? She believed in you that much, huh? But it was a deal. It was like I had 3 years to make it happen. But anyway, so I think in and around, those years, like teenage years, loved Boyz II Men. Boyz II Men comes to Toronto to do a show with TLC, and I can't remember who else was on the bill, but I think they were performing at Canada's Wonderland or something like that. Anyway, they end up being at they end up coming down to the City Building at the time.
The Much Music Building.
Much Music Building.
Sure.
And I want to say they were on Electric Circus or something like that.
Yeah.
But my guy, oh my God, I knew this was going to happen. I'm so horrible with names. Oh, it's killing me. But is
it KB? Oh. Is that who it was? This is what I'm hearing in my ear.
No.
Kevin? It wasn't Kevin?
He has a George, something up. His Greek name.
Oh, from Much Music. George Stroumboulopoulos.
Yeah, I think it was.
George Stroumboulopoulos.
I think it was.
Okay.
And it's like, yo, they're down here. No, was it George? Anyway, I get a call. And
was
it
it Manny? No. Okay.
I just remember he had short dark hair. He had really nice jawline.
It sounds like Strombo.
But
Sounds
anyway,
like it. Yeah.
But no, it actually wasn't George. It was somebody else. But anyway, point is that I had a friend there that worked there, and God, this is killing me. Anyway, point is, calls me down there. He's like, "Yo, come down. I can get you on to sing for Boyz II Men." I was like, "Bet." So I get down there with whatever else, and I had some friends, like a group that I used to come up with. These guys, just cool. Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Yo, Glenn, can we sing with you?" Da. Because I got this opportunity. I feel like this is this once in a lifetime opportunity for me to sing for Boyz II Men. And they're like, "Yo, can we sing with you?" And I was like, because I knew we didn't rehearse nothing. I'm like, oh man, but I didn't want to be a jerk.
Right.
So I was like, I was kind of like, all right. I really didn't want to do it, but I was like, okay. So anyway, so they decide, okay, we'll do the tail end of what was it? And I'll take with me memories. Be my sunshine after the rain. It's so hard. Say goodbye to yesterday. Whoa. Whatever. So we're doing that joint and botched it. Horrible.
Oh, no.
I saw Nathan laughing for Boyz II Men. I saw Wanye, they're like turning away from the camera. It was terrible. It was horrible. I was like, oh, God damn. Anyway, but all this came from, like, as far as influences and inspiration, but, like, I thought they were, like, pinnacle. The songwriting is crazy, the vocal arrangements, whatever. And then in meeting them, I heard them talking about, oh, there's this guy coming, Brian McKnight. And I was like, oh, really? Brian didn't drop yet. So then not too long after, several months down the road, sure enough, here comes Brian. Mm-hmm. And Mercury Records was having a hell of a run back then because, like, Joe came out and there was just all this great R&B. Like, the 90s, needless to say, if you were an R&B lover, anyone that knows anything, man, it's, from Joe to Johnny Gill to Boyz II Men to Jodeci to Guy to, and just in listening to all that music is funny, even having a story of listening to Guy in the House. And my dad, my dad popped in and out of my life here and there. Mm-hmm. But my dad hearing me play Guy, and I remember I took part in a dance competition at this community center, and I got third place, and I got the Gap Band 8 album. And I just set it aside. And my dad, I showed it to him, whatever else, however it came up in conversation. But then I'm playing Guy, and he's like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "Oh, that's Guy. That is shit." Yeah. Oh, hopefully.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. I was like, "Damn, they the ones." And he was like, that Gap Band 8 album you brought in the house? He's like, "Put that on." And I was like, okay. So I put it on. And I started hearing this dude singing. And I was like, yo, why does this guy sound like Aaron Hall? He's like, no. Aaron Hall sounds like him. That's Charlie Wilson.
Okay.
And I was like, oh. So, yeah. So then I eventually started digging into, like, my parents' music. And all of a sudden I'm revisiting songs. And I remember early in the morning playing when I was a kid. And I was like, oh, that was Charlie Wilson? Oh, that's crazy.
Jeez.
And then eventually learning that Charlie was influenced by Stevie Wonder. And then I started becoming refamiliarized with those records because I remember my dad playing those records and singing along with some of them. And eventually finding out that Stevie also listened to Donny Hathaway and the Beatles, and then the journey just began.
Of
so
course.
that is the long version of all of what's inspired me. There's so much great music out here, so many great artists, and it's just so funny, like different stories I have of how I discovered certain artists and how they became an influence on me. But yeah.
Well, you know what? You bring up your dad.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about your dad.
Sure.
Glenn Ricketts. He was the lead singer of the band Crack of Dawn.
Yes.
Legendary.
Yep.
It was, if not it was one of the first Black Canadian bands to be signed to a major label.
I think it might have been the first.
I think it was the first.
I think it was the first.
Glenn Sr. was also nominated for a couple of Juno Awards and continues to be a respected artist in Jamaica's local reggae scene.
Yep. Yes.
I wonder about the influence that he had on your sound, because you talked about everyone else, but he had his own sound.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if I had to be honest, both my dad and my mom, I mean, that naturally is where it all started because they're creatives in their own right. And, my mom's a great songwriter and, she has great ideas as far as how she, classic melodies or hooky melodies and always trying to find interesting ways to sort of convey a particular idea or wherever the conversation is going to go in a song. So she's amazing unto herself, and she, does a little bit of everything. My dad, of course, he's the front man. He was the guy.
Yeah.
So, I have memories of, I forget what local television show he was on. I remember he did this, they had a segment where he performed, and I remember him doing like a backflip, while he was performing. Craziness. I was like, man, he going in. He was like doing his little James Brown stuff. I was like, okay. But I can still remember all that stuff, man. And him playing his music around the house, and an interesting connection that I made over the years of, while I have spots with my dad, for the most part, he, Papa was a Rolling Stone, man. He was,
Right.
He was an artist, so he was always doing his thing. So I didn't really have him a lot, we talk every now and again here and there, but sometimes years go by, So I bring that up because while having him though, I remember, and I've shared this in a number of conversations and interviews, that he definitely had this Stevie thing to him, but he had. Okay, so Stevie went through a lot of different eras, right? So you got little Stevie Wonder. Then he gets a little bit older, and I don't know if folks could tell, but like there was a point in time where he sung a lot from the throat and from his chest. It was very raw sounding, like all the way up to like late 60s. And then later on, he connected. I can't remember specifically. I think it was mid-late 70s. He connected with a vocal coach named Seth Riggs, and Seth Riggs kind of like got him to tap into different techniques, and then you started hearing him hit those crazy high notes. Right. That was after, I think it was in and around the car accident. I remember he had a car accident.
That's right. He was in the hospital for quite a while.
Right. But all to say, coming up, there was a period of time, my dad kind of reminded me of singing from the throat raw Stevie, right? He would do a lot of those, what was it? Oh my gosh! Signed, Sealed, Delivered. Like how Stevie would do those little high falsetto-y type notes. So he would do a lot of that stuff. So anyway, long story short, I used to actually confuse the two.
Your dad and Stevie.
Yeah, I would actually confuse the two. Huh. So growing up, listening to Stevie, eventually when I started kind of digging into like my parents' music, like mentioning that little journey I went on of eventually rediscovering the music that was played around the house. It was funny. The things that Stevie did just came naturally to me because I associated him with my dad.
Sure, and you had soaked it all up all this time with your dad right there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So there's this, it's interesting, like over time, like, getting to like my early mid 30s, I kind of realized, I was like, oh, that's crazy. I feel like a big part of why Stevie was such an impact in, as a creative, but just as a black man, period, is he quite literally raised me through his music. And I feel like in a effort to connect with my father.
Wow.
That was why I sort of was so locked in to Stevie Wonder, because it was my way of sort of better, in a strange way, sort of better understanding myself and understanding my dad.
Wow, Glenn, you are getting deep with me right now.
Yeah, it's pretty.
That's
crazy.
pretty heavy.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I remember thinking about it. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's why. Oh, yeah.
I wonder then, because you just opened this door, about your name.
Yes.
Because your dad is Glenn Ricketts.
Yep.
You were born Glenn Ricketts Jr.
Yep.
And is it true that you started calling yourself Glenn Lewis because sometimes you'd walk into a studio where they were expecting,
Yep.
and then they'd be like, "You're the wrong Glenn.
Yeah.
We want the other one.
Right.
Where's your dad?" Is that what was happening?
It wasn't so much the wrong one. It was just it was funny. It's like, I think just in passing, people
Right.
would say, you know, like if I got booked for some kind of session or to sing a demo for something or whatever it was, and they would say, "Oh yeah, Glenn Ricketts is coming," right? So there wouldn't be any talk past it, and whoever was there just assumed like I'd walk through the door and they're like, "Oh, I thought it was gonna be a father. I thought your father was coming in here for sing. I thought, you know, so they just assumed that it was gonna be my dad." But so eventually I kind of realized that, okay, this is probably getting kind of confusing.
a
Number
problem.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And number two, no knock to my pops or the Ricketts side of the family, but I just ain't want to sound like a country singer.
Glenn Ricketts.
I just couldn't do it. I just felt like Glenn Ricketts sounds like a country singer. I was
Now
like,
that you say
nah,
it, I hear it.
I can't do it. I was like, nope. I was like, I'm gonna use my mom's maiden name.
That's fair. That's fair. I want to play another song,
Sure.
but I'm gonna take you to a place. We're gonna take a walk down memory lane.
Oh.
Take a listen to this.
Wow. That's hilarious. What? Do I even have this anymore?
I can't see you with anybody else but me, but me. If you be with me and nobody else, you see, you see.
So, a song called "Give You Love." It was part of a demo tape you had way back
Oh, wow.
in the 90s.
I know this is Ty's doing. I'm going to beat you down.
Ty Harper, producer extraordinaire. He knows what he's doing. What do you remember about this song and that moment?
Do I remember
in your
anything from this
journey?
song?
Do you remember anything?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, first of all,
Like, where were you
I
along
wish
the
somebody
journey?
could see me right now, because I would be doing my, like, you know, like Jodeci would do the big steps.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like you know how LeBron does that whole like holding it down thing after he makes his three or something. It was like I was doing a lot of that back then with this music. Oh yeah. But you know, Jodeci was the thing, and so you know, I was trying to make that record that would rival, you know, all that stuff, because you know it was the whole thing of, you know, coming up in Toronto, coming up in Canada, period. You know, everybody was like, if you're gonna do R&B or hip hop, you know, it was the thing of, is it comparable?
Right.
Is it competitive? You know, or does it sound the dreaded? Does it sound Canadian? There was a moment of that, like for a
Of
while, where it's
course,
like,
yeah.
but it sounds Canadian,
Canadian.
and it's like, what is that? Like, you knew what they meant, but at the same time, there was a kind of like you just resented it.
Yeah,
you're
because
like,
it
what
felt,
do you mean?
It didn't feel like, it felt intangible. Like it was like a thing. Is it just a vibe? It
Right.
felt like it didn't. It's not a kind of criticism that you can go, well, I'm gonna try and sound
Right, like
un-Canadian.
something you could. Yeah, it was just very weird. But all to say that was those days, man, and a lot of the demos I was cutting, it was the whole intention was to, you know, I wanted to be right there. I wanted to, like, the goal was, you know, like, sadly and unfortunately, like, coming up here, particularly in those times, there wasn't really anywhere to go. You know, there was kind of like there's a glass ceiling kind of thing, you know. So you know, I kind of seeing my dad's path and what he went through with Crack of Dawn, and seeing the likes of, whether it's Errol Starr or just like I saw, you know, Liberty Silver. I seen so many people, you know, and even my big bro, Carlos Morgan. I've seen so many people. They kind of, you know, they may have a moment, you know, like a song that does kind of well, and then there's just crickets. There's just silence. And, you know, no knock. I don't think it's a thing where it's just R&B music, or, it's just hip hop music or black music. It seemed as though I kind of came to a conclusion where I was like, wait a second. Mike Myers left.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey left. Mm-hmm. Michael J. Fox left. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to make it in the entertainment industry, you might have to leave. There seems to be a point where, you know, no matter how, there's so much phenomenal talent that's come out of SCTV, and so many phenomenal comedians, actors, musicians, whatever. I think if you want to do it, sadly and unfortunately, there seemed to be, for whatever reason,
there wasn't
enough of it. Yeah,
there wasn't a bottleneck in the system.
You know, there wasn't enough of an infrastructure. I don't know, whatever. Sure. So, you know, I knew that the goal was south of the border. So, like, all I was doing back then was trying to create, you know, I'm trying to craft the sound and trying to create that thing that makes people go, oh, wow, you know.
Well, you could hear it. You could hear it in that track.
That's so funny
that
hearing
you were
that,
right
though.
there. I think a lot of people think of a different record of yours, Don't You Forget It, was your first single, but your actual first single is The Thing You Do.
Yeah, or Thing to Do.
The Thing to Do, yeah.
Yes.
It was on Groove Essentials Volume 1, which was a Canadian R&B compilation album, and some of your fans call it your best song to this day.
Yeah.
What do you remember about the experience of releasing that record?
Well, I remember that Around the Way Girl by LL Cool J had come out years before, I think it was, and I was like, man, those chords are amazing. That sounds so good. I was like, I need to do something over that. And so I remember, you know, being in the studio with a late friend of mine, David Williams, rest in peace, you know, brilliant pianist and keyboardist and just all around genius. And, you know, I just remember us sitting around and I was like, man, I want to learn those chords. He was like, oh, you mean these? And you just pick up, he could pick up anything and just play it just by ear. So he starts playing. I was like, yes! So he starts playing. I was like, you know, let's work on something. So you're just in the studio. At the time, we were working down on Bathurst Street. Orrin Isaacs, who, you know, he's gone on to do so many great things. But he used to have a studio down on, you know, just south of Queen on Bathurst. And it was called Basement Productions. And, you know, we was down there, just all of us was working on music or whatever. And me and Dave are, you know, he's there playing, and I wrote the song. And I remember I was so, you know, just being so excited and loving being in the studio. Like, I remember I would go down and do sessions where I literally would not sleep. Like, I'd get there 12 o'clock in the afternoon and not leave until like 7 o'clock the next morning.
The next day.
You know, like loving it.
Yeah.
Just loving it. So I remember, you know, we came up with that joint, and Ivan Berry, I can't remember exactly how Ivan Berry from Beat Factory heard it, but because Ivan and Orrin and myself, we were all pretty, you know, close. We were all friends. Yeah, and eventually he was like, yo, you know, you should throw it on this compilation. I was like, bet.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then, you know.
A highlight of the compilation. Really.
I appreciate you.
Really. You've talked about trying to get noticed early in the 90s. You know,
Yep.
you gave us some of the stories. One of the stories is going to the Vibe conference.
Yes.
Which was a big deal, a music conference put on by the preeminent hip hop and R&B magazine. Huge celebrities, industry professionals would come.
Yep.
It was a big deal, and you found yourself there?
So a friend of mine, I'm just putting out the whole history, man.
Yeah.
So, or as best I can, trying to remember, because some of that stuff's so long ago. I'm like, man, who was there? You see me trying to remember names. But a friend of mine, you know, just all coming up in the scene here, there was like certain cats that were just synonymous with the scene. You just, you know, whatever. And, you know, Wade O'Brown, who's a legend in his own right from Toronto. One of our friends, Christos Cox, he was such a believer in me as an artist. He was like, that's it. We jumping in the car and we driving down to New York for the Vibe conference. And we not leaving until you got a deal.
Well, yeah, it goes back to the fact that you had to leave. Like it had to be that. And the fact that there was a place like that that you could go to.
Yeah.
And you found yourself feeling at home there.
I mean, well, so it's funny, right? Even though, to be honest, no, not right away. Because, you feel a little uncomfortable because you feel the pressure of like, yo, I got to do it, man. I got to.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking, these people that you're meeting, it's like, Andre Harrell and Diddy and whatever, like they started Uptown and like everything that's around them is like winning and going like multi-platinum just with ease. So anyway, or it's, at least it's seen that way. So it's just, that pressure of like, oh man, I gotta be, if I want to make it, I gotta be on par.
Yeah.
So, going down there, I remember we were just trying to get at folks, and I remember Christos was on Diddy. He was in his ear to the point that Diddy literally had to be like, bro, I heard you. It's cool. Like, he literally had to and he was like, all right, man, all right, cool. But he was really, man, God bless him, man. He was trying so hard.
So he was in his ear about you, though?
Yeah. He was just like, yo, my man, yo, listen, my guy
him.
Glenn, yo, you got to hear him, blah, 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 blah. He was on him with everybody around. But Diddy was cool about it. Like, for the first like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, he was letting him do his, he was like, all right, man, cool. Just give me a call. But yeah, so just everybody that we saw, even just in the lobby of the Marriott in Times Square, where they held the conference in whatever little auditorium area or whatever it was, but there was just people all around, just everywhere. So you never know who you were going to see, whether it was an editor or some producer or other artists or whatever. So we were just stopping and sometimes singing. For some people would put me on the spot and they're just like, all right, go ahead, sing. So I would just, whatever. And then eventually, as the night was winding down, because there was only but so much access we had.
Sure.
So the night is, for all the big acts and everybody that was doing what they were doing.
They're gone to their parties,
you know what I mean?
You were left getting pizza.
They're doing their thing. So so we're out on the street, and I remember looking down. I forget what street it was, but across from the Marriott, I think it's still the same in Times Square. Across from the Marriott is like the McDonald's, like it's this huge, like 4 levels or something. Anyway. But down that street, for those New Yorkers or those familiar with New Yorkers, whatever street that is, that's directly, like it's beside the Marriott, but like if you walked out of that McDonald's that's facing Marriott and you looked forward, there's a street right there. Whatever that street is, I remember there was this Benz, this big body Benz, this 500 sitting, and I remember standing by the trunk on the left side of the car. I was like, yo. Like looking at the silhouette, I looked at Christos and I was like, yo, is that Biggie? I was like, yo, that's Biggie, bro. So we're like all excited, but we're not walking up to him in case he was like, yo, who you running up on, bro? Like, it was like, nah, we're good. Like, I just appreciate from a distance. I'm like, yo, that's Biggie.
Good enough from a
distance.
That was
enough for me. It was like, cool. And then, wanting to grab something to eat, we eventually go to that McDonald's. And in the other line is Aaliyah. Like, so...
Wow.
Back and Forth might have been out for a little while, like a couple months or something like that. And I look over at Aaliyah, and of course, I had, like, when I was younger, I was extremely cocky. Like, or at least I think I was, I totally thought I had a shot. So I'm there like...
So you're going to shoot your shot.
So I'm like eyeing her, and you know what I'm saying? I got the eyebrow, like the one eyebrow up, and I'm like, yeah, what's up, man? And she smiled. I got a smile out of her. So I was like, hey, I might have a shot here. But there was too many fellas around her. So I was like, yeah, maybe not. Because I'm in New York. I don't want to get my ass beat.
What an experience.
Yeah, it was crazy.
What an experience. Okay, we got to play some more music.
All right.
I want to get back to the new album. But first, let's play a song that you have said you've never gotten tired of performing.
Far away from the life so young, that's when you used to know. Many dreams since then you've had them come and gone, the time might show. But stress, don't you let it, don't you forget it. Trust you'll find your way, love. Hope is what your heart is made of. And don't you forget it, don't you forget your way home. For that little girl, hold on to your world. And don't you forget it.
Go ahead. Give it to me.
Oh, for real? Oh, okay. I didn't want to like trample over it. I was like trying to... humming along. I didn't even know the mic was on. That's right. You should always expect that the mic is hot.
You sound so good.
I appreciate you.
You sound so good. Don't You Forget It from your debut album, World Outside My Window, arguably one of the biggest songs of your career, I would say. Maybe it's up there.
So.
It's up there.
For sure.
I can't imagine how many times you've had to sing it, but I've heard that you don't tire of performing that song.
No,
what is it about it that really that you love? There's a lot of nice range in it. That's what I like about it.
Yeah,
it's just like look at them go high.
Nice. Yeah, no, it definitely has it has its peaks and valleys. It has all the good stuff in it for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I think I wrote it in such a it was so real what was happening at the time. Like I initially wrote, because there's so many people I run into and they'd be like, man, I love that record. What is that about? What are you talking about? And I'm like, oh yeah. So I end up having to explain that originally when I was writing it, I had not too long moved to Philadelphia, and it was pretty overwhelming. Like it was like the studio we worked out of was at 444 North 3rd Street in Philly. And man, one of the rooms, so Boys to Men, specifically Wanye and Nate, they had a room and down in the studio down there. And Jazzy Jeff, for the most part, was running the other rooms. And though, ultimately the collective was called A Touch of Jazz. And Music Soul Child had dropped not too long, like maybe several months earlier. I want to say Jill dropped as well. So every so often they'd be going in and out because they're working on stuff or they're doing stuff. Maybe they, come down there and because it was like just you're doing a little bit of everything. Some people are doing interviews in some of the rooms or whatever. So I remember like Music would be down there, Jill would be down there. I eventually met Flowetry, Marsha Ambrosius, and Natalie Stewart, down there. And just, I remember days where Herbie Hancock could come through or, Trey Songz before he popped off or Chris Brown before he popped off. Like everybody was down there. So I say all that to say, coming from Toronto with a West Indian background and I'm there in America and it's like, this is as real as it gets. Like that's, R&B that's culture for them.
That's the essence.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like being there, I was like, wow, like I was hearing vocalists that were coming out of the church that they didn't even want to be artists, but when I tell you, could sing just about anybody under the table.
Right.
And they're just like, yeah, it's just another Sunday. Like it's just, and so I was like, what? Wait a minute. So like I was asking myself all types of questions. All this to say, Don't You Forget It came about me having an internal conversation of like, basically the long and short of it was all of what you'd experienced and been through, has prepared you for this moment. And just rely on those foundations because those things, literally, it validates you in this moment that you're here because you deserve to be here.
That's right.
So that was the idea of the conversation, but I was like, well, I can't release a song where I'm talking to myself. I was like, well, that might not go off very well. So I was like, you know what? I know. I'll make it a conversation between myself and maybe a girlfriend, where I'm encouraging her and telling her the same thing. And that is how Don't You Forget It was born.
Isn't that funny that you tell this story and now so many people's dreams are shattered because they thought it was just a love song?
Well, no, but see, the beauty of it, because, I'm such a huge fan of like Stevie Wonder and eventually became a fan of Prince. The thing that I love about their writing was they have this, there are some songs where they would write in such a way where it was just open enough.
Yeah.
That it could apply to anything. And it ends up being the kind of art like similar to there's certain artists that like painters that they'll do a particular thing where they leave certain things open to interpretation.
That's right.
So I actually, that's one of the many reasons why I enjoy performing the song, because I know it means something different to everybody. No different than, interestingly enough, how we are as people. Like you're entirely different. Like there's certain best friends you have, and among all 4 or 5 of them or whatever it is, you're somebody different all vibe, and family members, certain family members see you different, or your colleagues or whatever. So interestingly enough, music, can be presented in such a way where people walk away with something different, and that's kind of the beauty in it.
I love that. Just sticking to Don't You Forget It for a second. Is it true that when you first met Stevie Wonder, he sang that song a little bit?
Yeah. So he has a radio station, KJLH in Los Angeles. So I get out to, I'd only been to LA a couple of times before. And there's some stories that even lead up to this one, because I originally met Stevie for the first time when I was 19, 20 years of age. Mm-hmm. And at that time, he would have no idea. He might actually remember, because his memory is kind of crazy, despite the millions of people that he's met, like quite literally millions, but he has a really crazy memory. But all to say, met him when I was 19, 20, bawled my eyes out, because, you changed my life, you're like a dad to me. He's probably heard that from so many people. But anyway, fast forward to 28, 29 years of age, Don't You Forget It's out. And I head out to LA, there's a bunch of stuff going on. I can't remember, I can't remember all of what was happening at the time. It was moving so fast. Anyway, was invited down to KJLH to his radio station. We're sitting there, me and my managers, and we're waiting. And we're waiting. And waiting. And the folks were like, hey, listen, Stevie, he operates kind of on his own time and whatever. He's Stevie Wonder.
He's allowed.
He's Stevie Wonder, and he's got like billions of things happening. So anyway, they were saying, listen, sometimes, he has the best of intentions, but sometimes, things go a certain way and he might not be able to come. So I was like, dang. I was like, all right, well. And we were just about to leave after waiting maybe 2 hours, 2 and some change, maybe somewhere in there.
Wow.
And we were about to give up, and they were like, whoa, wait a minute. He just got off the highway. He's pulling up. I was like, hey now. So anyways, I'm sitting there. And Stevie comes up. They escort him upstairs or whatever it is. And Stevie says, hey, Glenn, what's going on with you, man? It's good to see you, brother. He always making jokes. Like, it's good to see you. And he sit him down by the keyboard. He has a keyboard in the studio. And we're just having a conversation, live. When you got the mics going, kind of like what we're doing now. And so he sits there and he starts playing. And he starts singing the song. Far away from that life so young, that's when we used to know many dreams. Killing it. And I'm like sitting there like, what? Stevie's singing my song. Yo, I lost my mind. But anyway, yeah, so that was a pretty incredible moment.
Of course. It had to have been.
Yeah, that was pretty
It had to have been. I've heard you say that Stevie Wonder did something about shaping your idea of Black masculinity. Mm-hmm. That you talked about him as a father figure. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the things that you feel like he taught you.
Yeah, like, so with my pop not being around as much as maybe I would have loved, yeah, there were certain individuals. I mean, all young people, you have your heroes. And for me, Stevie was definitely one of them, where I always felt like, as a songwriter and composer, he has a way of creating music, and the music kind of was already whatever the subject matter was, the music was already kind of communicating that, and he almost acts as an interpreter on behalf of the music. And so his approach to, what life was like for, the Black family or Black man, from living for the city to, village ghetto land, and, so many other songs where he describes, what, certain scenarios and situations to try to open people's perspective of like at the end of the day, we're human first, and yet I'm having to deal with, these things that are happening within my social environment. It was a way of like, there was release, being able to identify with, the stories that he was sharing, but there was also a relief and a release in that there's, that unification of like, okay, I'm not alone. Yeah. And then also even just his depictions of Black love. I mean, love in general, but there's just a way, this poetic approach that he would take, the knocks me off my feet and the send one your loves and, or even like you know, the fact that he would put himself out there, the vulnerability in All in Love is Fair, or Joy Inside My Tears, you know. So all of his, you know, his work had a way of kind of shaping, you know, my, like, just framed my view of what it meant to be a young black man, or a black man moving through the world.
Yeah.
So, you know, Stevie definitely impacted me that way. And then there was Michael Jordan. He was just super cool and confident. So I used to try to walk like him, and that's a whole other story.
That's a whole other
Yeah.
story. You know, we talked about Don't You Forget It being one of your favorite songs to perform, but
Yep.
you have a new album out.
Yes.
And I wonder about the song on that album that you love to sing the most right now. Is there one?
You know what? I don't
don't?
know yet.
Okay.
No, not that I don't, but I don't know yet, because I actually enjoy singing along. They're all still new, right? So I enjoy singing along with all of them. But I think the one that kind of gives room to sort of, you know, breathe and have the conversation that's being had, like allowing people in, I think is like Last Goodbye.
Give me a little bit of that one. Can you?
Oh,
Will you?
all right. Let's see if I can pull it off.
I'm sure you can.
Let me take a little sip. That's all right. Okay. Can I appeal to your heart a moment? Tomorrow will be here before you know it. And what's new is soon to rust and turn to dust. That everything will change, like faded pictures in a frame. And if we're fortunate, our time would leave behind something pure, something more, something imperfect, something worth it. If we're not afraid to fail, or if we fall, while we're young and having fun, quickly the years can steal the sun. And in the winters when we need the warmth of one, you live your life, do-do-do. Burning bright moments happen as fast as they become the past. When we're alone, honesty of tears of facing our fears, that no one truly knows us before the last goodbye.
Wow. Hurrah.
Thank you. I was trying. I was like, it's always weird singing a cappella because, you know, you lean on the music when you
got
know,
a
when
standing
got it.
ovation in the control room.
What?
There.
Hey,
Look at that.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Oh, all right.
Glenn, I got to thank you for everything that you've given us, from the beginning of your career to the middle of your career to right now and into the future.
Appreciate
It has just been a pleasure to hear your voice, but it's also been a pleasure to take you through this journey and speak to you today. Thanks so much.
I do appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time out. This has been this has been a ball. So thank you so much to everybody here. I appreciate you guys, everybody in the booth. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks.